Welcome viewers into the world of botany. In plant morphology, there is a topic leaf. This is KVS Durga Prasad, Head of the Department of Botany, Hindu College, Guntur, dealing the topic of the leaf. As we all know that leaf is a flat, greenish, lateral appendage growing on the stem. It performs the photosynthesis, that is, preparation of food materials, and on the surface we have the stomata through which it could perform the transpiration. In this session, we are dealing with the parts of a typical leaf, the types of leaves, leaf base, leaf stipule, leaf petiole, phyllotaxy, venation, and kinds of leaves. These are all the things which we are going to deal. Fundamentally, here is a typical leaf, the parts of a typical leaf. The place where the leaf arises on the stem is said to be called the node, and the base of the petiole is said to be called the leaf base. On either side, two small scaly appendages are present, what they are called stipules. Then there is an elongated structure, stalk-like structure, what it is called petiole. The stipule, the petiole, and the very well flattened structure, this is called the lamina. I repeat, the leaf base, the stipules, the petiole, and the leaf lamina. The leaf lamina comprises of the leaf margin, leaf apex, then the venation comprising of a midrib, lateral veins, and veinlets. These are all the parts of a typical leaf. Once again, here also you are watching the various parts of a leaf. On the basis of origin, the leaves are fundamentally classified into three kinds: the radical, the colline and ramile. What are radical leaves? In some cases, the stem is very much reduced. The leaves appears to be developing, originating from the root itself. Hence, such leaves are called radical leaves. We could see them in the case of onion, radish, carrot, etc. Colline means the main axis is not having any branches. The leaves are straight away coming from the main axis, that is on the stem. And what such leaf is said to be called colline in the case of palms, Cocos nucifera, etc. Colline and ramile, where the leaves coming both from the main axis and also the branches, such leaves are said to be called colline and ramile. The example is the case of mango, neem, etc. Now, to begin with, each part. Usually the leaf base is very simple, but sometimes the leaf base is swollen, and it is said to be called pulvinous leaf base. Swollen leaf base or pulvinous leaf base is a characteristic feature of Fabaceae members. You could see it in the case of Dolichos and Clitoria, etc. Sometimes the leaf base is sheathing, is a flat and enveloping or clasping around the stem. What such a type of leaf base is said to be called sheathing leaf bases. It may completely surround the stem. It is called amplexical, and as in the case of grasses, or sometimes it may partially envelop the stem, and it is called semi-amplexical. Once again, you are watching here sheathing leaf base, a characteristic feature of Musa and grasses. Pulvinous leaf base, characteristic feature of certain Fabaceae members. Example, Clitoria. Then about stipule. What are stipules? The two small scaly appendages present on either side of the petiole. They protect the leaf in its young condition. Leaf with stipules is called stipulate. Example is this hibiscus. Sometimes the stipules may be absent, and the case of Datura and Calotropis, etc. Here we are watching the various types of stipules. The stipules, the two stipules are free, and what is called free lateral stipules, characteristic feature of hibiscus. The two stipules attached to the petiole to a certain extent, what is called adnate stipules, is the case of rose. The two stipules fuse and lie in the axil of the leaf, what it is said to be called intrapetiolar stipule in the case of Taberni montana. The stipules fuse and lie in the center of the stem on either side of, in between the two opposite leaves, and what this is called interpetiolar stipules in the case of Ixora. The stipules fuse and forming into tubular structure protecting the internode, and what it is said to be called ochraceous stipules in the case of Rumex and also Polygonum. These are all various types of stipules: prelateral, adnate, intrapetiolar, interpetiolar, and ochraceous stipules. The stipules sometimes gets modified. The stipules modifying to spinous structures in the case of Acacia, The two stipules modify into spines even in the case of Gigipus also. The two stipules modify here into tendril structure and help in climbing the case of Smilax of liliacean member. Sometimes the leaf may be reduced or condensed, modified into tendrils or into very much reduced. In such cases, the activity of the photosynthesis is taken up by the stipules, and what these stipules are called foliaceous stipules, feature of certain Fabacean members. This is a Lathyrus and this is a Pisum. So stipules modifying to spines, Acacia gigipus, into tendril, Smilax, and foliar stipules in the case of Lathyrus and Pisum. That is about stipules. Now petiole, the long stalk-like structure terminating with the leaf lamina. It make the leaf lamina to get sunlight uniformly. And the petiole is again of various types of petioles you are watching. Leaf with petiole is said to be called petiolate. Best example, hibiscus. Sometimes petiole is absent. It is called sessile in the case of grasses and musa. In case the petiole is having some wing-like projection structures, what it is called winged petiole in the case of citrus. The petiole is spongy and make the plant to float on the water. It is called floats, and in the case of Hycarnia. Here in this case, Carica papaya, that petiole is long, tubular and hollow, and that's the case of Carica papaya. So winged petiole, spongy petioles and the tubular petioles. Right. Here you are watching the modifications of the petiole. The petiole modifying to flat greenish photosynthetic structure. The original leaf is gradually very much reduced and condensed, and the petiole will be performing the photosynthesis, and this is one sort of modification, what it is called phyllodes, a xerophytic adaptation seen in the Australian acacia. It is a primary rachis modifying to phyllodes in the case of acacia, maybe secondary rachis in the case of Parkinsonia. The petiole modifying into tendril structures, and this is the case of clematis. So petiole into phyllodes in the case of acacia, petiole into tendril structure. These are modifications of the petiole. My dear students, now here is a phyllotaxy. What does it mean? The arrangement of leaves on the stem is said to be called phyllotaxy. And this is because of to get uniform sunlight to all the leaves. Having only one leaf at each node, alternate phyllotaxy. More than two leaves at each node, opposite phyllotaxy. And more than two leaves at each node, it is said to be called whorled phyllotaxy. Once again, you are watching here, alternate phyllotaxy, opposite. Opposite is again of two types, opposite decussate and opposite superposed. If the leaves are, pair of leaves are all on one side, on one plane, one position, it is said to be called opposite superposed. You could see it in the case of Jasminum guava cuscalis. The upper pair is at right angles to the lower pair, and this is said to be called decussate in the case of, we could see it in the case of Calotropis and Ocimum. More than two leaves at each node is said to be called whorled phyllotaxy. We'll see again, this is alternate phyllotaxy having one leaf at each node. And this is opposite phyllotaxy, this is opposite superposed and opposite decussate, and this is a whorled phyllotaxy having more than two leaves at each node. Example, Nerium, and also you can take Alsatonia having more than two leaves at each node. Alternate, opposite, and these two whorled phyllotaxy. Alternate phyllotaxy. The leaves are arranged in vertical rows, and what these are called orthostiches. They may be in 2 rows. That is called disticus, 3 rows, tristicus, 5 rows, pentasticus, 8 rows, octasticus, and so on, parasticus. An imaginary line drawn on the stem touching the leaf bases existing in the various rows, we take a spiral. It is a genetical, hence it is said to be called genetical spiral. Genetical spiral. The angle between the two successive leaves is said to be called angle of divergence. So my dear viewers, here you are watching the 3 terms, orthostiches, genetical spiral, then about the angle of divergence. The angle of divergence can be measured by number of spirals divided by number of leaves covered in the rows and into 360. Here we are going to see the disticus condition. Leaves arranged in 2 vertical rows. So as to cover the 2 vertical rows, we will be taking only one spiral. Hence it is called 1/2 phyllotaxy, and the angle of divergence is 180. And the example for that is Cynodon and the rice. And tristicus condition, the leaves arranged in 3 vertical rows and only one genetical spiral it takes. It is 1/3 phyllotaxy. Angle of divergence is 120. Example is Cypress. Pentasticus means leaves arranged in 5 vertical rows, and to cover those 5 rows, we have to take 2 genetical spirals. So it is a 2 by 5 phyllotaxy, and the angle of divergence is 144. And the example for that is a hibiscus and a ficus. Similarly, Octasticus, leaves are arranged in 3 vertical rows, and the angle of divergence is 135. It is called 3 by 8 phyllotaxy, 3 genetical spirals and 8 vertical rows of leaves. And so the angle of divergence is 135. You could see it in the case of Carica papaya. Then the leaves are arranged in a number of vertical rows, which cannot be measured, and it is said to be parasticus. These are all persistent leaf bases of phoenix. So my dear students, thus we have seen disticus, tristicus, pentasticus, octasticus and parasticus in all the case of alternate phyllotaxy. Now the next topic is venation. What is venation? The arrangement of veins over the leaf lamina is said to be called venation. There will be a midrib, then there will be lateral veins, then the veinlets, and this is all called arrangement of veins over the leaf lamina. What veins are? Veins are nothing but vascular strands, that is the xylem and the phloem, which help in the conduction and also give the shape and protection and mechanical support to the leaf. And the arrangement of these veins over the leaf lamina is of various kinds. If they form into network-like structure, it is called reticulate venation, feature of dicots. If they won't form into network-like structure, and it is called parallel venation. Reticulate venation is a feature of dicots, not seen in monocots, but there are 1 or 2 cases of monocots with reticulate venation, that is smilax and Dioscorea. And parallel venation is a feature of monocotyle. So this reticulate is again classified pinnate, palmate, convergent and divergent. We'll see all these things. Here we go. This is reticulate venation, a network-like structure. If there is only one midrib and lateral veins are arranged in such a fashion, it is called pinnate or otherwise called unicostate. Typical example is a ficus or mango. There will be number of midribs and they won't meet at the apex, and it is called palmate or otherwise called multicostate. If they won't meet, it is said to be called divergent. We could see it in the case of Cucurbita, Passiflora, Gossypium, etc. If the midribs meet at the apex, it is said to be called convergent. The best example for this is the Gigipus. So that is reticulate venation. This is unicostate and these two are multicostate. This is a parallel venation where the main midrib is there, lateral veins are there, veinlets are there, no network-like structure, feature of many monocots. Rarely seen in the case of dicots like eryngium and calophyllum are there, or dicots with parallel venation. But it's a characteristic feature of monocots. Here also we could see this is unicostate parallel venation in the case of Musa. This is multicostate. The midribs are meeting at the apex convergent, and this is the boraces. This is a grass. This is the boraces divergent condition. Viewers, here once again you are seeing the various types of venation. There is unicostate reticulate, multicostate reticulate, unicostate that is parallel, and multicostate parallel. This is about venation. Coming to the last topic, that is the kinds of the leaf. The leaves are 2 types, that is simple leaf and compound leaf. In the leaf lamina is not dissected, and this is called a simple leaf. If the leaf lamina is dissected into small fragments, it is called a compound leaf. Here it is a simple leaf. Leaf lamina is not at all dissected. It's a simple leaf where it is not at all lobed. You could take best example is of a mango or some hibiscus members. But sometimes the leaf lamina is partially lobed, and it is a pinnately lobed simple leaf in the case of a brassica, palmately lobed simple leaf. I repeat, this lamina is not at all dissected, no lobes at all. This is hibiscus leaf. This is a brassica leaf where the lobes are there. It is a pinnately lobed. This is palmately lobed in the case of Passiflora, Cucurbita, Gossypium, etc. Then compound leaf, where the leaf lamina is dissected into fine fragments, what these are called leaflets, and there is a rachis. This compound leaf is again of 2 types, pinnate compound and palmate compound. What you are watching on the monitor is a pinnate compound. Leaflets are arranged like a pin of a feather. There is a rachis and is again classified unipinnate, bipinnate, tripinnate and various types. This is unipinnate, bipinnate, and this is tripinnate. We'll see again. This is unipinnate, where there is a primary rachis. Leaflets are present on the primary rachis. If the rachis terminates the pair of leaflets, that is even number of leaflets, it is called peripinnate compound leaf, Tamarindus. If the rachis terminates with a single leaflet, as in the case of Azar directa, that is neem, or in the rose, it is called imparipinnate. So both are unipinnate, but this is pari and this is impari. This is a bipinnate compound leaf, primary rachis is there, secondary rachis is there. On the secondary rachis, the leaflets are present, and the case of Deinonychus. And there is a primary rachis, secondary rachis, and tertiary rachis. The leaflets are present on the tertiary rachis, and what it is said to be tripinnate in the case of Moringa. The leaflets are irregularly arranged in what it is a decompound leaf, the case of Coriandrum or Daucus. So this is unipinnate, where we have mentioned the peripinnate and the imparipinnate compound leaves. The examples are mentioned there. And then this is a bipinnate compound, the examples again. Then this is a tripinnate compound, Moringa. Then decompound leaf, we can say in the case of carrot. Now, here is, these are all various pinnate compound leaves. Now, compound leaf, the palmate compound leaves. What are palmate compound leaves? Palmate compound leaves where the rachis terminates with the leaflets. They are not present on either side of the rachis or either side of the petiole, at the apex of the petiole. Accordingly, if one leaflet is there, unifoliate, bifoliate, trifoliate, quadrifoliate, multifoliate. We'll see them. Here it is, unifoliate having only one leaflet, citrus. And here we can see them. Only one leaflet is there at the apex, it is called unifoliate, and that is citrus. Two leaflets are there at the apex, like Hardwickia, Bellonitis, and Jornia are the examples. It's a bifoliate. Having three leaflets at the apex, it is said to be called trifoliate. Best example is Dolichos. Having four leaflets at the apex, it is said to be called the tetrafoliate. The best example is Marsilia, but that it is a pteridophyte. In the case of angiosperm, we could quote the example of Paris quadrifolia. If more than four, and it is said to be called, if five leaflets are there, it is called pentafoliate. Best example, Gynandropsis. And more than five, it is called multifoliate compound leaf. You can see it in the case of Bombax and Seba. These are all palmately compound leaves, unifoliate, bifoliate, trifoliate, tetrafoliate, pentafoliate, and multifoliate compound leaves. Here, my dear viewers, you are watching the various types of leaves, the simple leaves, the pinnate compound leaves, the palmate compound leaves. These are all kinds of the leaves, and where the leaf lamina, basing on the leaf lamina, we are watching on the monitor various kinds of the leaflets. My dear viewers, in this session, we have watched the parts of a leaf, types of leaves, leaf base, stipule, petiole, phyllotaxy, venation, kinds of leaves. So, this is KBS Durga Prasad, Head of Department of Botany, Hindu College, Guntur. Thank you. See you again.